Jason at Company B.
Can I take your account number, please?
Hello. The number on the letter I've received is 777333.
Thank you. Now please can you confirm your name, address and date of birth so I can verify that I'm speaking to the right person?
What do you need that information for? I'm calling you about a letter I've received.
I'm afraid I need to verify that I'm speaking to the right person before I can continue. It's for security reasons. It'll only be a couple of questions, and once you've answered them, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay.
In dealing with customers, you've probably got two different types. You've got the won't pay and the can't pay. And you've really got to treat everybody initially as a can't pay. There's a reason why they've not been able to meet their debt obligations. If you do that, you're less likely to engender hostility, you're less likely to create communication apprehension, you're more likely to be able to build a relationship which allows you to control the process of a debt repayment plan and ultimately you getting your debts repaid.
I recently lost my job, so I've been unable to make payments over recent months. I've never actually heard of you before, so...
Could you please tell me why you contacted me about this debt?
I'm sorry to hear about your job, Mr. Smith. It's common for creditors to sell on accounts when payments have stopped.
Companies such as ourselves, and having bought your account, we are now the legal owner. We wrote to you in April this year explaining this. As I've mentioned earlier, Mr. Smith, it's my job to answer any queries
you may have and help us agree a suitable and affordable repayment plan to suit your needs.
You're in a very difficult position trying to obtain the cooperation of somebody who has persistently failed to repay a debt that they owe. But if you give that individual any pretext, either by being aggressive or by misrepresenting facts, then you give them an excuse not to cooperate with you.
Okay, well, the good news is that things are starting to look up. I've recently been offered a job.
Which is starting in 2 months, so I won't be able to make any payments until then.
Could you call me back once I start the job to sort out a payment plan then?
That is certainly an option, Mr. Smith. However, what I can do is set up a payment plan today to start in a couple of months' time, so it's all arranged and you don't need to worry about it.
The culture that you have in your organisation will be reflected in what's acceptable in dealing with a customer. At the end of the day, you want a positive outcome, and all the psychological research suggests that a softly approach will be much more effective than a directly confrontational one.
Are you able to make a nominal payment out for your benefits? It doesn't matter how small it is, it'll be a step in the right direction.
Well, I could give you £15 today.
Thank you. How would you like to pay that today?
I'll pay by debit card. Thanks very much for your help so far.
My name's David Spittle. I'm a debt supervisor based at the Shirley Citizens Advice Bureau in Solihull. The service that we offer is face-to-face counselling for clients in the Solihull area. Now, I think there's a great myth around clients that come to seek independent advice, and I think certainly within some sectors we're seen as there to assist clients in ways to avoid paying the debts. Whereas from personal experience, more predominantly people that I've seen over the years will come out with a statement like, I know it's my fault I'm in debt, whereas it's about circumstances, and we have to look at everyone on an individual basis. When I heard the title for the conference, Can't Pay, Won't Pay and Now Need to Pay, I thought it was at first implying that debtors and clients were looking for easy ways out to repay the debts. However, on the other hand, I find it quite ironic given the current financial situation the country's in. Certainly over the last 2 or 3 years there's been a significant increase in the number of people who've not got the financial means to repay the debts.
general law practice, we pretty much do everything apart from mental health and immigration. My own team does social welfare law, so that's debt, welfare, employment, housing and consumer. So one client who's given us consent to talk about her case was a lady who suffered from cerebral palsy from birth. She met a chap in a pub who took her to see a friend, and the lending on her house went from 16,000 up to 120,000. She benefited not one jot from that increased lending. All the money went to the man from the pub. We were able to challenge the loans and say that there was undue influence from the man in the pub over our client. We were also able to say that the financial advisor shouldn't have done what he'd done, that the solicitors who acted in the remortgage shouldn't have followed that path, and that the banks should not be able to repossess the client's house, and her lending was reduced back down to the original level. So the conference theme of can't pay, won't pay, now no need to pay, I was a little surprised by the now no need to pay, in that a lot of the routes that people are using to not paying have been around for a number of years, and we've been challenging loans for a number of years in fact. And we found that this recent interest in the market has been very unusual. Before we were one of the only people doing it, and now there are lots of people, well there were lots of people trying to jump on the bandwagon.
I think the increase in data sharing has been an excellent thing, both for potential lenders and the credit industry. I think it gives them a better overall understanding and picture of someone's credit history over the last 6 years. However, again, I don't think they can, from that information, ascertain whether someone's a can't payer or a won't payer. I just think it gives them a good history as to make a judgment whether to grant credit in the future.
I don't think we're in a no need to pay culture. I think what's happened is there's been a decline in people taking responsibility for what they do generally, and that has fed into the debt market. But I don't think there's a huge culture of that at the moment.
I think that again there's a myth about the no need to pay culture. However, I do feel that with the changes to the insolvency service on bankruptcies in April 2004, there was a significant increase in personal bankruptcies, and it may be in some particular cases that a lot of people took this as an easy option simply because they were discharged after 12 months rather than the old regime of 2 or 3 years depending on the level of deaths.
I think claims management firms saw an opportunity. They read something about unenforceability, and there was a particular case that they heard about, and a lot of them steamed into the market thinking that this was a place they could make some money. Frankly, people were promised an easy debt write-off and paid a lot of money up front to do that, and then lo and behold those cases haven't progressed. Some of them have been lost by the claims management companies and their solicitors, and people are left out of pocket to the claims management company. I think essentially people saw it as an easy market to make some money and have then dipped out again.
I think over the last 4 to 5 years the client base has changed. Predominantly 5-6 years ago I was tending to see the vast majority of clients that were solely reliant on state benefit. However, certainly over the last 4 or 5 years I'm seeing more and more people that are in work but struggling to meet the financial commitments. Again, within my role I see a number of clients through various clinics who have serious mental health problems, and my own experience is that they're certainly not abusing the system. In fact, with a lot of people I work with mental health problems, I work in association with social workers or support workers, and will always produce medical evidence to the creditors giving a full breakdown and history of someone's mental and financial capabilities.
We're seeing an increase in the debt clients at the moment. I wouldn't say there were an increase in the number of people trying to escape the debts. We've got a huge amount of people coming to us in financial crisis, and amongst those are people who have loans that we are seeking to challenge. Most often they come to us when they are about to lose their home.
I think if we look over the last decade, there's been a lot of irresponsible lending, and certainly it's interesting when we talk about creditors sharing information on credit report files, because certainly in the early 2000s this wasn't being done, and I came across a number of clients who had significant numbers of credit cards, who were paying the minimum payments but were seen as a good risk. Lending policies were so haphazard. I think the culture within banking changed in so much that a customer went in and the staff felt that they had to sell a product. I think the staff were under a lot of pressure to sell these products, including payment protection insurance, without doing credible checks on whether people could repay.
I would certainly want it to be easier for people to seek legal advice, and particularly some of the duty court schemes that the government have put in place immediately before homes are repossessed. I would think more of those need to be done. I would think there needs to be greater control of the advertising. I think some of the adverts I've seen that promise debt write-off and promise certain percentages of loans to be written off have been completely inaccurate. I would want more control of that. And thirdly, I think the credit crunch has already helped with this, but a situation where lending has become less available, so essentially there's more responsible lending, I would think that needs to take place as well.